When we talk about aerospace hubs, names like Seattle or Toulouse probably pop into your head first. But what about Belfast? It turns out this city has this incredible, powerful story in aviation. It's a journey, really, from building these absolute giants of the sky to shaping a really high-tech future. And, as we'll see, it's doing all of this while facing some pretty tough challenges. Yeah, it's really a tale of two eras. We're going to dive into how this legacy, this history of building these massive, powerful planes, is actually what's fueling the talent and the tech for a whole new age of aviation today. All right, so where did this all kick off? Let's rewind a bit, back to the company that really, and I mean really, put Belfast on the global aviation map. And that company was Short Brothers. For decades, Short Brothers was just this powerhouse of practical innovation. Seriously, every aircraft they built was designed to solve a very specific, real-world problem. You have the Skyvan. It might look like a flying box, but it was a brilliant freighter. Then there was the colossal Shorts Belfast, this absolute beast built for heavy military lifting. And, of course, the Shorts 360, a super reliable workhorse that basically became the backbone for regional travel all over the world. And just to put the sheer scale of this into perspective, listen to this quote from the RAF Museum. The Belfast, it could carry 2 single-decker buses. I mean, just pause and think about that for a second. This wasn't just your standard aircraft manufacturing. This was pure, raw ambition. They were building actual giants in the sky, right there in Belfast.
Okay, so you've got this incredible history, right? The big question is, who makes sure it doesn't all just fade away? Well, that's where a really dedicated group of volunteers comes into the picture.
Meet the Ulster Aviation Society. They are basically the keepers of this flame. It's a charity run completely by volunteers, and they look after this amazing collection of about 40 different aircraft. But here's the coolest part. They're based in the exact same hangars where Short Brothers built Sterling bombers during World War II. So they are literally preserving history on historic ground. How amazing is that? But a legacy is only as strong as the next generation that builds on it. So that brings us to the present. How is Belfast creating that engine room, that pipeline for its future aerospace talent? Well, a huge part of that answer is Queen's University Belfast. It is absolutely central to this whole ecosystem. Their School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering is that critical pipeline, just feeding a steady stream of super skilled engineers right into the industry. And what's really cool is their approach. It's super methodical, but also intensely practical. So you start with the fundamentals, right? The core principles, then you quickly move into these complex team-based design projects. And by the time you get to the final stage, students are doing their own individual research, getting their hands dirty with the real challenges of aerospace design. It's a journey that's really designed to create not just graduates, but professional engineers who are ready to hit the ground running.
And you can see that philosophy right here in the numbers. Look at the hours. Students spend way more time in practical labs and doing design work than they do just sitting in lectures. It's not just about learning the theory. It's about actually doing the engineering.
Okay, so we've got this amazing talent pipeline established. So let's look at the major industry players that are actually operating in Belfast today, the ones who are creating this really modern aerospace hub. Just look at this number for a second. Over 7,000. That's how many people the global tech giant Thales employs just in the UK. And with a major base right there in Belfast, that one company alone gives you a real sense of the scale of the industry we're talking about here. So you can kind of think of it as 2 essential pillars holding everything up. On one side, you've got a company like Thales, the global innovator, the brains of the operation, designing all these complex systems for aerospace and defense. And then on the other side, you have Belfast International Airport. That's the physical gateway, the logistical backbone that literally connects the entire region to the rest of the world. And make no mistake, BIA is a huge strategic asset. It's Northern Ireland's main airport, it runs pretty much around the clock, and it handles a massive 45,000 tons of freight every single year. It's the main artery for all sorts of exports, everything from aircraft wings made right there to agri-food. And get this, it's sitting on over 100 acres of land just ready for expansion. That is a massive advantage that most major airports would kill for. But it's not all smooth sailing. Every ecosystem faces challenges. And for Belfast, maybe the biggest one comes from just across the border, where its main competitor has a really significant and, importantly, a structural advantage. This quote from Bia really nails the problem. They're talking about something called Air Passenger Duty, or APD. It's basically a tax on every single passenger who flies out of the UK. They call it a crippling burden for one simple reason. Their biggest competitor, Dublin Airport, which is just a drive away, has no tax like that at all, and that gives Dublin a huge, huge advantage. And that tax difference, it has a very real cost. According to the airport, this number right here, 1.5 million, that's how many passenger journeys they estimate Northern Ireland loses to Dublin every single year. And this chart just shows you exactly what that drain looks like visually. Think about it. Every year, 1.5 million people are making the choice to drive south and fly out of Dublin instead. That is a massive amount of traffic and revenue that could and should be fueling Northern Ireland's own aviation sector. So this puts the airport in a really tough spot. It's a structural disadvantage they're up against. So the big question becomes, what's the path forward? How does the region adapt and compete?
All right, let's turn to the future then. What's the vision? How does the airport and the whole ecosystem around it plan to grow? Not just in spite of these challenges, but by actually leveraging their own unique strengths.
BIA's strategy is definitely forward-looking. For one, they're aggressively going after new international routes. Think Canada, Germany, the Middle East. But the really big idea, the potential game changer, is to use that massive land bank we talked about to create a 100-acre enterprise zone right there on airport property.
So what on earth is an enterprise zone? Well, think of it as a special area designed to supercharge trade. Companies can come in, manufacture or finish their goods right there, and then export them directly from the airport. It creates this incredibly seamless, lower-cost logistics hub. And that's why BIA believes it could be a total economic game changer for the region. And why is it such a potential game changer? Well, it comes down to this number, 4,000. That's how many new jobs the airport estimates could be created if they make this enterprise zone a reality. I mean, that is a massive, massive potential boost for the whole regional economy. And that really brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The story of Belfast is this amazing collision of a proud, century-long legacy of innovation crashing right into the complex realities of today's global economy. So the final question really is, can that deep-rooted engineering DNA, combined with a smart vision for the future, be enough to overcome the headwinds and power Belfast's next great chapter in aviation?